Welcome. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for your patience. I think we're all getting used to some of the technical challenges of virtual meetings. But so thanks, Liz and Sam and everybody else who had a hand in putting this together. And thanks for taking a few minutes to do something today that I think is truly significant and important for our region and for the country too. But before we get started, if you won't mind, let's go around the virtual table and introduce ourselves. You know me, I'm Dan Newhouse. I represent this part of the state of Washington in Congress. Mike?
Mike Scellick, owner of the Washington House, and there's a lot of familiar faces there, and just happy to be here.
So I can see from left to right, I see Lorri. Why don't you go next?
Hey everyone, I'm Lorri Gray. I serve as the Regional Director for the Bureau of Reclamation. I oversee Grand Coulee and I'm located in Boise, Idaho.
Thanks, Lorri. Dr. Petty, I see you next.
Yeah, hello, Congressman. Good morning. I'm Tim Petty. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Water and Science for the Department of Interior.
Very good. Thanks for joining us today. So I don't see anybody in the next panel. I don't know if there's somebody there. Coleman, you're the next one in line?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm Coleman Smith, the manager of the Grand Coulee Power Office, overseeing the operations and maintenance at the dam.
Awesome. Good to have you here. Thank you. Mr. Dent. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning, Congressman. Thank you for having me. My name is Tom Dent. I represent the 13th District in the state of Washington, which doesn't include Grand Coulee Dam, but almost. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. I guess that's all I have to say for the moment. Thank you.
You do represent most of Grant County, right?
We do represent the majority of Grant County. We just don't get quite all the way up to the dam, but we should. It should be part of our district because the dam is so important to our region where we live. So, and I can talk a lot about the dam and what it means to us here in Grant County and the 13th District. So, appreciate it. And I do live in Moses Lake, and I'm actually sitting at my counter at my home today. And if you guys can see behind me, you probably can't, but part of the Columbia Basin project in the infrastructure of the canal system is right out my window.
Oh, is that right? A good concert reminder. And we'll give you a chance to talk a little bit more. Maybe redistricting will bring you guys up over to take in the dam. Senator Warnick, good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Congressman. Nice to be here. I also represent the 13th Legislative District, and which includes it right in the Nat Washington House. So, Mike, it's good to see you on the call as well. So, look forward to the conversation.
Good. Thanks, Judy. I don't know, is Chairman Cawston on? Rodney, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. This is Rodney Cawston. I'm the chairman for the Colville Confederated Tribes, and good to be here with each and every one of you. So, looking forward to our conversation and supporting this effort.
Okay, awesome. Oh, Alex, you're not on my screen. Oh, no, you're not. For some reason, I guess when you start talking, maybe you will come on. Go ahead, Alex. Welcome. We'll come back to you, Alex, if you can hear me. And if you're not on, I hope you can get back on. Anybody else? Okay. Well, let's get started. I know everybody's very, very busy today, but this is probably one of the most significant things you will do today, I hope. We could say that at the end of the program. You probably know that, I know some of you do because you were with me on the tour, but last month, Secretary of Interior Bernhardt came out to Eastern Washington. And as I say about Interior Secretaries, every one of them has to make a visit to Grand Coulee Dam because it represents the largest Bureau Reclamation project in the nation. And it's certainly an awe-inspiring sight and a testament to the industriousness and the creativity and the hard work of American individuals and what we can do together when we put our minds together. And it definitely is something that we are all very proud of, and people around the country know of it, and any opportunity to come see it, certainly as Secretary of Interior, is a must on their must-do list. But the neat thing, so there are a lot of neat things about the tour. While David and I were walking, I think, across the top of the dam, remember that day, Lorri, he turned to me and brought up my legislation concerning the naming of the third power plant after Nathaniel Nat Washington, as well as his son, Judy. And I said, yeah, thanks for taking an interest in that. And he's actually, that legislation, of course, I didn't think of it myself. This young man sitting right next to me brought the idea to me as something that he felt was important for us to do so that we keep a hold of our history and recognize those people who have done the hard work to allow us to enjoy the kind of life that we do today in this country. Two of those important individuals were the Washingtons. They both truly played a vital role in not only the conception, but the construction of the dam. But the sad thing is, maybe not so much in Africa, but I guess I would say even here, their story remains largely untold. And that is something that is on us, our generation, to rectify. And so my interest was to help tell that story by introducing this legislation to name that third powerhouse after these two individuals. We know that their advocacy for hydropower and certainly all of the benefits of Grand Coulee, all the benefits that are provided through the construction and operation of that dam, truly transformed our way of life in central Washington, and really you could say in the Pacific Northwest. And so we can honestly say that the Washingtons are pioneers of hydropower in the Pacific Northwest. And I wanted to bring all of you together here, which is very important as local leaders, as people that are engaged in the operation of this important part of our infrastructure, to discuss this proposal with officials from Interior, from Reclamation, talk about this important part of our lives. So we're very honored today to have the Assistant Secretary for Water and Science, Dr. Dent, works very closely with Reclamation, which is the agency that operates Grand Coulee Dam, and many, many other critical federal water projects across the country. So we're very happy to have Dr. Petty with us today. Thank you so much for joining. And Tim, I want to give all of you a chance to provide some input, but I'm going to start by passing this virtual microphone over to Dr. Petty. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Mic'd up here. So, Congressman, thank you so much. Couple thumbs up. I see pictures of you that the mic is coming across, and the virtual world of getting into the technology. It's great to just see so many faces that have turned their cameras on. That's a plus of what this technology can do. And so, Congressman, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to represent the Department of Interior today for this good discussion. I look forward to hearing from everybody. As the Congressman mentioned, Secretary Bernhardt did visit Grand Coulee just real recently, this past month, to tour the operations and learn more about the dam and the contributions. And it is such an amazing engineering feat, that is for sure. And hearing the Secretary's comments after that was really important. And as you know, the Department of Interior and the Bureau of Reclamation maintain an oversight, have oversight of Grand Coulee Dam, and as a federally owned and operated structure. And because of this, the federal government has a large footprint in central Washington, especially in Grand County. So many of District 13 has that connection that connects right back to that important dam. I appreciate you taking the time today to join me in this discussion with the Congressman to look at how we can contribute and how actually Nate Washington Sr. as well as Jr., the son, to both of their conception idea of the hydropower plant, but then how it would really impact your community as a whole. Many of you today understand the importance of this. And in fact, the creation of this third power plant that we're actually discussing today made Grand Coulee Dam the largest power producing complex in all of North America. At Interior, we are working alongside our partners to ensure that the Grand Coulee Dam can continue to provide all of these benefits that have such an impact into your community, both environmentally, ecosystem-wise, as well as power. On that visit, the Congressman communicated to Congressman Newhouse, and he mentioned this legislation of renaming this third power plant. And out of that conversation, what the Secretary was really focused on was these benefits and how important it is to your community. And with that, what I really want, along with the Congressman, to be able to hear a little bit more of the benefits from each of you that are going to have some time to comment today and to continue to build in what this power plant has in your community. So with that, I think I'm going to turn the mic over to Senator Warnick.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Petty. I really appreciate your comments, and like Representative Dent, I am calling from home, and right outside my window I can see the irrigation systems working on our fields. Wouldn't be there without the Grand Coulee project, and so it's very, very important to me. I have grandkids that are now moving onto our farm, so for generations, we're the second generation, and this will be the third. So very important to our family. And you know, the last 2 trips I made back to DC with Representative Dent, we talked about this project. We talked about the expansion or the completion of the Columbia Basin project. And so we've got a lot of work to do, but I think with this third powerhouse, this is going to help tremendously. So I want to thank you for putting this call together, and thank you, Congressman, for being on the Association Washington Business call yesterday as well. We need to fix our Zoom calls and our technology so that we can continue to see each other just about every day, it seems like. But I really appreciate you putting this together. It's been very helpful to see everybody, if not in person, virtual. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Tom, how would you like to chime in and give us your thoughts that you promised us?
Well, thank you, Congressman and Senator Warnick, for your words. And it's good to see you again, Dr. Petty. I appreciate our opportunity to visit when we're in D.C. and your interest and willingness to understand our project. So I'd like to kind of, I've lived in the Columbia Basin since 1955, since I was 5 years old. And I can truly tell you, what you see when you come here today is not what we saw in 1955. It's a world of difference. You can't even compare it almost. Because of the Columbia Basin project, the Grand Coulee Dam, we have truly made the desert blue. And I remember as a small boy, 5 years old, and we watched the water come down the West Canal by Othello for the first time. And it was a big deal. And how we changed this country has been unbelievable through our irrigation projects. And incidentally, this morning, I started my day out fixing my circle, which has to do with the irrigation project because it seems to break on a regular basis. But besides that, we've created habitat for our animals and our wildlife that was not here before as well. We didn't have the wild animals when I was a small child as we do now. I mean, it's changed that. The recreation opportunities that we've provided for our people and our citizens is absolutely unparalleled anywhere you go. And actually, Senator Warnick and I have been working on a recreation project down at Vantage right now in the last few days, trying to keep some of that stuff moving in the right direction. And then the power we provide out of Grand Coulee Dam alone is just unbelievable. And as far as it goes, and as my years, we were talking about this the other day, my years as an aerial applicator, I took a Bonneville power line out one time with an airplane, and it was somewhat expensive to repair that, but that power was coming from Grand Coulee Dam, and it was on its way to Los Angeles, is what they explained to me when they were fixing the power line. So it's a big deal in the power that we provide, not only for the state of Washington in our area, but for the entire West Coast is something else. So that taking opportunity to name this third powerhouse after some folks that were truly pioneers in what the Columbia Basin Project has done for our region and our country, I think is a good thing to do. I think it really honors some folks that were forward thinking and were able to get out of the box and think about what the future could mean. And we sitting here today are reaping those benefits. So I'm encouraged by this. Thank you, Congressman, for running this legislation. And if I could vote for it, I surely would. So thank you for allowing me to speak and be at this meeting. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that endorsement. Appreciate it. Go out and fix that pivot. So, Alex, we missed you on the introductions, but we're not going to miss you this time. We're going to give you a chance to say a few words, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. So, Alex Ybarra.
So, thanks, Congressman, and hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good, Alex. I missed you at the club.
Yeah. I'm getting back, but I'm not there, believe me. So,
Get back.
Anyway, I just want to say, I'm not going to over dramatize it, but I think I will. What Grand Coulee meant to me and my family is, it was the American dream. My parents were migrant workers coming from Texas, California, Oregon to Washington, and stayed in Yakima in the 40s and 50s. And when Grand Coulee came in and irrigation came to the valley, my family actually moved because there was work there. And as migrant workers, there's lots of work there. That to my family was that all of us, my dad got a fine job, but we were no longer migrants. We were Quincy, and I was born and raised in Quincy. Months after my dad started. And American Dream started, we had work. We were farm workers, and we worked in Great Moses Lake area. All my parents were very smart folks and made sure that all their kids went to college and they all got degrees. And it was because of the irrigation, the work Grand Coulee Dam and irrigation brought Quincy and my family. My parents were twin eggs, and that was the American dream that never talked about, but it happened. And I'm sure it happened to your maybe your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. It's still the American dream, and that's what Grand Coulee meant to me and my family. It was just changed our lives. So hopefully the legislation goes through, and we get the name that the name Washington House is a great name for that powerhouse, and hope everything goes in that. So thanks very much for letting me talk, and send it back to you, Congressman.
Thank you, Alex, and appreciate those. Those are strong endorsement for the benefits of the dam that truly do change people's lives with the construction of the dam. And I should say that Alex is the newest in doing a great job as the newest member of the 13th District Legislative Delegation. And I'm sure he's going to have a long, successful career there in the state legislature. So thanks, Alex. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
So we're also honored this morning, truly honored to have the chairman of the Colville tribe with us, Chairman Cawston. Rodney, you with us still?
Yeah, I am still here.
Oh, very
I don't know if you guys, we turned the video on. I don't know if you can see us here. I'm here at our council chambers in Newhouse. And I actually have several other members of our business council here with me this morning. You know, I when I first heard about this, you know, it made me reflect back and thinking about the history of our own people here on the Colville Reservation. And as many of you know, we have 12 tribes that each were moved here, and their histories are all unique in how many of the tribes, arrived here on the Colville Reservation. You know, where Grand Coulee Dam sits is the traditional homeland of the Sanpoil and the Nisquelam. And, I actually had the opportunity to meet Nat Washington many years ago. Some of my earlier work with the Colville Confederated Tribes was I, helped to establish the Archives and Records program as well as our language program. We have 3 languages that are spoken here on the Colville Reservation. And I also did some work to start the museum and gift shop. And so, I've dealt with a lot of archival and historical materials of our tribe, including, looking at a lot of the legal research, that I helped to do some assistance with as well. And, back, in my earlier part of my career, I remember talking to some of our tribal leaders and some of the elders, that were still alive. Because, in his career and during his time, he did a lot of work to survey a lot of the lands, especially around Grand Coulee Dam and shrub steppe areas. And there are a number of photographs, that exist with, his working with a lot of the elder people here from our reservation. So when I ran across those photographs, it, really I got a huge interest. I thought, well, what is this all about? What's happening? And he actually had recordings of our some of those elders that were completely spoken in our languages. And so he actually, no more than I discovered those, he actually contacted us at the Colville tribe and then eventually, contacted me because he wanted those tapes transcribed. And we were able to do that. And he shared with me, some of his work that he had done all through, the Columbia Basin and working with a lot of our elder people here and documenting a lot of different sites and place names, all across the plateau. And, so that information is very invaluable to us today, his earlier work and, what he contributed in recognizing and respecting, the tribes who, were first here. And it's, for us, many of our people who, their original homelands were here, since time immemorial, and we have a very long history and a lot of knowledge about, the Columbia River and even predating the dam. I know my parents used to talk about what it was like, and, to see the dam, here on a Colville Reservation, we pass by that daily. I live there in Coulee Dam, so I'm around that every day myself. And, so it for us, it's like a love-hate relationship, and all of you know that, that there was a lot of impacts to the tribes, through the Colville tribe, especially, and when all the dams were constructed on the Columbia River. But I really appreciated, his work, Nat Washington's work, and his respect of the tribes and everything that he did to, work with the tribes and document these areas. And, that was very important to him. And he shared that with me, towards the end of his life when I met him. And so today, I guess, we have this monolith that we live next to here on our reservation. And, but I think that it's great to be able to honor this man and to name the third powerhouse after him. And I think through the, development of this, that the tribe, that we can work together and really look at then too, paying some recognition to the tribes that, who originally came from this area, and the knowledge, and the work that he did with the tribes, because, our tribal leaders were engaged with, the construction of Grand Coulee Dam, not always to the best outcome of the tribes. And even today, we're still working on many issues. So, what is the dam still impacts us every day of our lives, as well as the operations and the flood management and everything else, agriculture. Many of those areas, especially down through, Ephrata, Moses Lake, and all those other areas, most people drive through there and they see that landscape. But, us as our native people we look at that landscape much differently because there are a lot of resources that are really important to us there. And, a lot of archaeological and cultural resources, traditional cultural properties that our people still access, and they go there still to gather a lot of our traditional foods, as well as medicines and a lot of resources that, our people still use. And I don't think that a lot of people aren't, really aware of that, the resources those shrubs that areas have, as well as, our forested areas, which are also important. But, the water is probably one of the most important natural resources to us here even today, as it has been all throughout time. And, so I guess I enjoy, being able to be here and to support this effort, and, because I know he had that same respect. He also learned from the tribes, our perspectives of, how we look at that landscape, those resources as well. So I look forward. I hope we can work together, on putting this forward, and, that we can really do something to develop some type of interpretation of, his work with the tribes as well, and importantly to the tribes, original homelands, that are here in this area, because as tribes, no matter wherever we're at, wherever we're meeting, we always try to pay respect and acknowledge the tradition or the homeland of the people who were from that place, and that's very important to us. And I thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to what we can come up with.
Good. Thank you, Chairman Cawston. Important words in a message of cooperation. I think that's very important for us to remember throughout our long history together. So thank you for sharing those. I'd like to give some time to the individual who really is the driving force behind this recognition of these two important people in our history, and whose property that he and I are sitting in right now. That this is the house that the Washingtons lived in when they were here in Ephrata. The current owner of the house and a longtime resident of this area, Mike Scellick. Mike?
Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. This is very, very important to me and to the family. The Washingtons and Nat and Bushrod, they're looking down at us and saying, "Hey, all right, you forgot about us for the last 70 years, but now we're going to get there." And it is important. And the boys, when the bill was announced in 3937, unbelievable, the emotion, the tears, and I said, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And the history maybe should have been done maybe 70 years ago, but now we're talking about, the largest powerhouse in North America, which is the grand prize. And so we think it's really worth it for the family that basically started as pioneers in the early 1900s. And we're friends with the Native Americans, and continued on with his son going down to Priest Rapids and Wanapum and everything in between. And there's a lot of history that I was going through, Dan, this morning that we can share. And we have audios, we have pictures, we have it all done that I've been preparing for the last 11 years. And so we're willing to share that to Grand Coulee Dam, the city of Grand Coulee. And it's a new start when you start hearing the stories of where they came from the first president, how they got out here, the drownings of all three of them, and Nat watching them drown 1, 2, 3, and how they put their lives together and started putting together the dam, and then on his son going down into Priest Rapids and Wanapum. It's a fantastic story, and I need your support, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And thanks for your persistence. Without your energy behind this idea, we wouldn't be sitting at this table today. So
well, I never thought in a million years we'd be sitting here. Many people smiled and said, "Yes, Mike, yeah." But and learned a lot about how a bill is made and what it takes to get this far. So, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Now I'd like to let Lorri Gray, who's a regional director for Bureau of Reclamation, say a few words. And I probably shouldn't say, I haven't thought this through, but in talking to Lorri, I'm not sure blood runs through her veins. It may be irrigation water. She is all about the mission of the Bureau of Reclamation. It's just a delight to know Lorri. So thank you for joining us this morning, Lorri.
Thank you, Congressman, and that is the highest compliment that you can give me. So thank you for those kind words. I thought this morning I would just run through some facts and provide some updates about the facility. So as you've already heard, it's the nation's greatest asset and certainly the crown jewel of the Pacific Northwest. We have a generating capacity out there of over 6,800 megawatts. And that allows us to supply up to 21 billion kilowatt hours through the Northwest, but also outside of the Northwest. We're seeing it in California, which is valuable. Because of the capacity that we have, it is the largest hydropower, or the largest power generating complex in North America, which is something we can certainly brag about. And as I tell the Corps all the time, it is the hydropower workhorse of the Columbia River. They don't like to concede, but they do recognize that point. The third power plant was built in 1967, and it's the largest of the four. A lot of people don't know that. They think about Grand Coulee as a power plant, but there's actually 4 power plants out there. We are currently going through an upgrade of 3 of the 6 large units. That is running us right about $150 million. 2 of those units have been complete, and we've got crews working diligently to try to finish that 3rd unit early next year. COVID has slowed us down just a little bit. This massive upgrade will help assure Grand Coulee continues to provide clean, renewable, and low-cost hydropower for the Pacific Northwest well into the future. So not only were the Washingtons proponents of hydropower development, but they influenced and helped implement the Columbia Basin Project. And we've already heard Senator Warnick and Representative Dent talk about that. That water actually supplies supplies over 10,000 farmers and supplies water to over 680,000 acres of surface irrigated agriculture. That's not a small irrigation project at all. Actually, I think it's the 2nd largest across all of Reclamation's fleet in the West. The economic value of Grand Coulee include irrigated crops valued at $1.2 billion annually, hydropower production at more than $500 million annually. Of course, that depends on the price of power at any point. And the prevention of more than $206 million in flood damages across the basin since 1950. The Columbia Basin Project also resulted in a creation of a vast network of wetlands and riparian areas, providing recreation benefits to millions of visitors each year. Much like the Washingtons, the Bureau of Reclamation recognizes the responsibility we have to people, the economy, and the environment of the Pacific Northwest. We look forward to continuing our work alongside our many partners, and we thank everybody for your attention on this important power plant. And with that, I will hand it over, I think, to Dr. Petty next.
Well, thank thank you, each one of you, for just sharing some incredible insights and background, not only of your experience, but also the history of what Grand Coulee has been to each of you. As Assistant Secretary for Water and Science, it's important to understand the impact and influences our federal water structure has locally. And it's all about the locals that really make and part of the heartbeat of that community. And obviously the impact that the Washingtons had, the whole family, on that region. So at this point, and actually with the Congressman, I'm really proud to make a very special announcements to this group. So after the Secretary learned of Congressman Newhouse's efforts to rename the third power plant and hearing of the local support of the proposal, I'll tell you, the Secretary does not waste time getting things done. And he was listening to you, Congressman. And so after that, when he learned all this, today, actually dated today, I actually have in my hand that the Secretary actually signed that Congressman Newhouse's efforts and the rest of you will be announcing today that we're going to be renaming the Grand Coulee Dam's third power plant as the Nathaniel Washington Power Plant. We will be posting signs and banners around the plant to spread the story of Washington and his family and the community so that everyone who visits the dam, both employees as well as the public, are aware of the contributions that this family and Nate Washington had. I want to thank each one of you for your advocacy and your long support, and Congressman for your huge efforts to put forward the bill and the language. And I look forward to working and visiting with you into the near future and visiting together the plant and the name. So with that, Congressman, I'm going to hand it back to you, and looking forward to finishing off this really important day